Alright, bitch, this video is about how to nip your little glass scraps, okay? So, start by getting this big-ass bag out of your box. It's a big old hefty fat boy, and we're just gonna open it up and then cuff that rim like is the jeans of every homosexual you've ever met. 3, 4 times, something like that. You want it meaty. And then you're gonna stick both of your little paws in here and spread them apart. You're gonna puff that big bitch up. And would you look at that? Now you have a nice safe place to nip your scraps. They won't be flying around your house and you won't be stepping on them and crying, and it'll be fun. So get your goggles and or glasses or whatever the fuck you want to call them, and some glass, and let's start nip this shit. For the blues, I'm trying to make kind of wavy and S-shaped pieces. I'm doing that by lining up my cutters parallel with the edge of the piece and the middle of the rectangle, and then kind of working it in from the edge as far into the inside curve that I can. And then when I get kind of weird clunky pieces, you can kind of nip off a little bit here and a little bit there so that it kind of makes a cooler shape, like this one, which is now squiggly and weird and awesome. Let's make just a couple more wavy shapes again, finding that innermost inside curve, putting my nipper wheels parallel to the edge about 1/8 of an inch in, maybe. You could do fatter, 1/4 of an inch or whatever, as far as you can get in. And it'll just kind of pop these wavy shapes off. If they're sharp on one side and flat on the other, that's great for areas like the edge of the piece or where like the blue butts up against Bichard's butt. Having a flat edge on one side and a sharp edge on another is a nice thing to have. So that's kind of the gist of what I did for all of the blues. And next up we are going to do the whites, which is a bunch of squares and kind of trapezoids and rectangles and maybe some triangle shapes in a bunch of different sizes. So I'm going to start by just kind of hunking off some big bits. Then I'm going to turn my wheels perpendicular to the other sides and just kind of start cutting off some square-ish shapes. They don't need to be perfect squares. They just need to be square-ish. And I'll just kind of go from there, cut things down, cut them in half, slice them, dice them, cube them, pube them. It's as easy as that. This is probably the easiest color to nip. And like I said, just do it in a variety of sizes. Big ones, small ones, skinny ones, tall ones. We're going to do that for the whites and also for a gray, if you have a gray. Next up, we have black. For black, we're going to be trying to do thin strips, thin rectangles, thin, tiny little squares. So I'm going to start by trying to cut some thin little strips by putting my wheel nippers parallel to the long edge and just kind of munching up my way up. I've got a kind of semi-fat edge over here, which feels super perfect for some tiny little rectangles. So I'm just going to place my wheels parallel to that edge there, about 1/8 of an inch in, maybe even less than that, and just run a little train, and just chip a bunch of shit off. Pile it on up. Whatever you don't use of those later, then you can, cut down even smaller into little cubes. Now let's see if we can't make some kind of weird semi-squiggly antennas. I'm going to take some of the strips from the beginning and I'm going to try and eat away a bit of an inside curve here by like barely placing those wheels in off the edge and just kind of chewing away at stuff. If the top of the nippers here where those two wheels come together and meet and make kind of a V shape, you can use that specific point on the nippers to kind of chew and eat away at the edge of a piece of glass. So if you have like a weird sharp corner that you don't like that you want to go, or you're trying to kind of cut a circle shape, you can chew away at the edge by using the V at the top of the nippers where the two wheels come together. I don't like that first piece that I cut that much. So I'm going to take this other one and we're just going to try again. I'm going to cut it in half and see what I get. That piece not so much, but this piece has potential. I'm going to cut the fat end off over here in half, and then me likey, so I'm going to do the same kind of thing up here, and that gives me an antenna shape that I do actually like. So I'll set that one aside. I'll probably make a few more just so I have some options. And then whichever ones I don't use like this, I will just turn sideways, place my wheels perpendicular to the edge, and just munch, 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 crunch, 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 and make a bunch of tiny little squares that I will use for Bichard's eyes. So that is basically all of the shapes that I made with the black. Next up will be our browns and our yellows. We're just going to try and make some kind of diamond, triangle, shard shapes here. I'm going to start by cutting a bunch of wavy strips off the edge of my rectangle, and then from there I'm going to trim those down into smaller pieces. So I'm going to kind of run my wheels at an angle in between the two edges so that we're just kind of getting angular cuts, right? So if you go perpendicular, you get squares. If you go angular, you can get kind of diamonds or triangles or trapezoids. And I'm just going to do that a bunch of different ways. This is a bunch of chaos. There's no rhyme or reason really here. I'm just hacking. I'm not looking for specific, like, super hyper specific diamond shapes. I just want them to be kind of pointy all over so that they will fit in well together, the different yellows and the browns all in one. And this size is pretty good so that they are not too long in the areas where we're making like the stripes on his butt and stuff like that. So just little shards, that's all. And we'll do that for both of these yellow colors as well. And then next up, we are going to do all of our iridescent clears. Ooh. Hack those motherfuckers to shit. Have fun. Go cuckoo bananas. And nip that motherfucker like you've never nipped anything before. And later when you go over to start filling in the wings, you might notice that you need to like take a corner off so that this piece will fit the edge curvature of the wing or some shit like that. And you can deal with that later. All right. That's how I made all my shapes. You can make whatever fucking shapes you want to. Have fun.